This is CNN Breaking News.
We're following the breaking news out of Chicago. Disturbing information coming in. The video, these are live pictures, by the way, coming in from Chicago, aerial pictures. But the video of the white police officer shooting and killing a 17-year-old black teenager, that video has been released, but the website in which it's been released has basically stopped operating because so many people are trying to download that video. We're going to get that video. We're going to review the video. It is extremely disturbing. It shows the white police officer, 37-year-old Jason Van Dyke, shooting and killing the 17-year-old Laquan McDonald as McDonald lay on the ground. It's been described in this criminal complaint against McDonald that was filed today. First-degree murder charges against him. He's in prison right now. Let's talk about what's going on as we await the release of the video. You know, Jeff Toobin, you're on the phone. You're watching the legal part of all of this. Were you surprised that the actual charge was first-degree murder against the police officer, even though the 17-year-old did have a 3-inch switchblade or whatever, some sort of small knife that he was holding?
Well, it is certainly the maximum that a prosecutor could have charged the officer with. I think some people sometimes have a misimpression of what first-degree murder means. It doesn't necessarily mean that a hitman planned overnight to kill someone in advance. It really can take place in a moment. A premeditated murder only means that this was an intentional killing, unjustified under any circumstance. It is certainly an aggressive charge on the part of the prosecutor, and I think the key fact will be whether Mr. McDonald was on the ground, as the complaint suggests, for 13 of the 14 seconds when the guns were being fired. If that is the case, and if there is no potential justification, then I could see a first-degree murder charge being justified. But it's certainly a very aggressive charge by this prosecutor.
Yeah, but the prosecutor defends that charge, obviously, very strongly. Cornell William Brooks, you're the president and CEO of the NAACP. What advice do you give the people in Chicago right now? They're going to eventually, the website has crashed. You can't download the video right now, but presumably they're going to fix that. They're going to get some other opportunities to release the video under the Freedom of Information Act of Chicago as a request from a freelance journalist. They got to release that video, even though the family didn't want, the family of the 17-year-old boy who was killed, they didn't want that video released.
We don't honor this young man with violence. We don't honor the grief of the community with violence. And what we know is this: we're dealing with a systemic problem of which this is the latest sad, tragic, disturbing, horrific chapter in a long-running narrative. And the only way for us to address this is to be disciplined, to express our grief through civil disobedience and nonviolence, and protests and demonstrations and prayer and commitment to make the situation better. And so when people call for peace, we're not calling for quiet. There's a difference. We're not asking for people to be quiet. We're asking them to raise their voices and to assert their sense of justice with volume and with power, but non-violently. So trashing, tearing up, or destroying your neighborhood contributes nothing toward a solution here. But the fact of the matter is, we have to hold this officer accountable. We have to hold this police department accountable. We have to hold the city of Chicago accountable. And at the end of the day, we also have to hold ourselves accountable as citizens for making this situation better. We have to do that.
And Don Lemon, it comes at a time when we see protests gaining some momentum here in the United States. The Black Lives Matter protests, they obviously are pretty well known right now. Presumably, once this video is shown, that will further inspire these kinds of protests.
Well, this is what Black Lives Matter was born out of. police brutality. And if it's indeed what's on this video, what everyone says it is, and we will see that. So this is exactly what Black Lives Matter has been fighting for accountability for police officers who are for police officers accused of doing things like this. You know, during the previous segment, what Cornell Brooks said was, I thought it was the most amazing and the smartest thing that anyone has said, that this isn't an opportunity for a PR move. And that's why I said what I said before regarding the Chicago Police Department. And I think I misspoke. I said 125-year-old bartender, 125-pound female bartender, and that went to court. It was an off-duty police officer. But it's not a PR move. And what I heard, listen, I hear the mayor, I hear Gary McCarthy, the police superintendent. No one wants violence. As Mr. Brooks said, you don't solve anything. You don't solve a violent situation through violence. Everyone wants peace. But again, this has been something that has been talked about and has been discussed and has been raised with the Chicago Police Department for decades, and they say that they're doing something about it now, but as someone who was eyewitness to it, when I lived in Chicago, it is long overdue that police are held accountable in the city of Chicago.
Tom Fuentes, you were a police officer outside of Chicago, in a suburb of Chicago, before you became an FBI agent. But you know Chicago, you served there, you live there, you know that community well. How big of a problem do they have there?
Well, they have a number of problems there. One of the other problems that's not being spoken of is if you want accountability, you have it. This officer's been charged with first-degree murder, so he could go to prison the rest of his life for what he did. So he's being held accountable. But you know what the other part of this narrative is, these police departments, and Superintendent McCarthy has been on television. He was on over the 4th of July weekend talking about the slaughter of people in his communities, and that's going on in Washington and Baltimore and New York and other places. And at midnight, at 2 in the morning, the only people out there trying to deal with that slaughter of young black men being gunned down are the police. The clergy, the politicians, the community leaders. When they're home in bed, it's the cops that are out there dealing with this on their own. And yeah, they're trying to put a stop to this because there is a bloodbath going on in those cities, and they just can't control it. So if some officers are going to go off the edge like this guy did, you know, yes, prosecute him.
It's a problem. There have been so many shootings in Chicago. The Chicago Tribune says over 2,700 people have been shot so far in Chicago. Not necessarily killed, but shot in Chicago so far. Those are unbelievable statistics.
And they are unbelievable statistics, but I want to draw a distinction here. The bloodbath that has been described so well taking place in many cities far too often.
All right, Cornell, hold on for a moment. We have now downloaded the video. It is very disturbing. I want to just warn our viewers, what you are about to see is disturbing video of this police officer shooting and killing this 17-year-old teenager. We'll show you the video right now, but if you don't want to see it, this is a good time to turn your head away. All right, there you see the 17-year-old Laquan McDonald. He was jaywalking there on the street. This is dash cam video from the police vehicle. He is lying there on the street right there. And the police officer, Jason Van Dyke, 37 years old, shoots him. We've stopped that video at that. There's no audio on the video. We've stopped it at that point, but you get the point. Once he's down on the ground, the video shows that he goes over there and shoots him some more. Actually, watch this. We're going to continue showing the video. There you see other police cars, other police officers arriving on the scene. Don Lemon, you've now seen the video. We've all seen the video. Your reaction? It's
just, you know, Wolf, I hate to see it. You're seeing someone die. on television. And every time we show a video like that, I hate to see it. I thought it would be more graphic, because what we see, and I don't know if we paused it, we see him shoot, but then you don't see the officer in the frame. And so I was hoping to see the officer in the frame, to see exactly what happened, how many times he shot. There's no audio on it, so we do need audio. But again, it is very disturbing. The guy has a knife. And listen, you can hurt someone with a knife, but he has a knife. He didn't have a gun, and I didn't see any police officer in close proximity. And this is just me looking as a layperson, close enough proximity to look like they were in danger of this person.
We're going to watch it one more time, Don.
Yeah.
You can see Laquan McDonald on the street there, sort of running, jogging, and then let's watch it one more time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You saw the officers on the left part of the screen.
Yeah.
And
He
then you
wasn't
saw
even
the smoke
approaching
from
the
gun.
officers.
Yeah. He was just
Yeah.
walking sort of
He was walking.
the other way when he was shot,
Yeah.
and then he was killed. Sonny Hostin, your reaction?
I'm devastated. I'm devastated as the mother of a young black male teenager. I'm devastated for all the mothers that have lost their sons in this way. I just 2 weeks ago interviewed Sabrina Fulton, and I can tell you that she lives with that pain every single day. I've interviewed Tamir Rice's mother. She lives with this pain every single day. The fact that our children, our black boys, are 21% more likely to be killed by a police officer than their white friends is devastating to me. It's heartbreaking to me. We are seeing the death of a teenager at the hands of a police officer on videotape, something that happens in our country far too often. And the question now is, what do we do about this? What do we do?
Good question. We got to do something about it. Joey Jackson, your reaction?
Wolf, it's been 35 years in Chicago since a police officer has been charged with murder. Let that sink in for just 1 minute. And so what does that say about the officer's actions? What does it say about the fact that the superintendent of police is vehement in saying we have great officers out there, but this particular officer is not one? What does it say about the mayor's reaction? And, there's a use of force continuum, and that use of force continuum means that you escalate the use of force. What about speaking to people? Now, clearly there's no audio there, but the sheer time frame in which officers arrive and he's shot dead, should there not be some opportunity for dialogue? Should there not be some opportunity to disarm him in some way that's humane? But to shoot him and that officer, again, within 30 seconds of arriving, and within 6 seconds he's out of the car and he's shot dead, I think certainly it goes to the issue of reasonableness, and certainly it goes to when the jurors evaluate whether the officer's conduct was appropriate, will go to whether it was. I think not. And finally, when Don talked about I can't see the officer in the frame, that's problematic. If you don't see the officer in the frame, was he close enough to the officer such that he posed a real threat? All of these things are problems. All of these things relate to a broader discussion about this particular issue and about policing in general.
Tom Fuentes, the Chicago TV affiliates, they're showing this video now. You do see the officers on the left part of the screen. They'll probably do some slow motion showing of it, but officials in Chicago are deeply concerned there could be a violent reaction.
Well, and I think there should be. And to Joey's point, and I agree with him completely, you don't see in that video where McDonald ever goes towards the officer. He continues walking, so he may not be complying. But it's why the officer can't say that he posed a threat, because he didn't go towards him. Then he shoots him, he goes to the ground. He clearly can't do much with that knife once he's on the ground. And then basically the officer comes and shoots more bullets into the body while he's on the ground. So I think he's been charged with murder. I think it's clear that why he was charged.
That's why the Cook County...
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.